The Duffer Brothers kept their promise. Season 4 of Stranger Things is really scary. But in order to make it as terrifying as possible, the cast and crew had to work a lot behind the scenes. Let's explore how it was filmed, find out if Millie Bobby Brown really had to shave her head again, learn which character needed more CGI, Vecna or Young Eleven, and delve into why becoming Vecna was painful for Jamie Campbell Bower.
It's not very cool to see a monster cry.
Let's get into it. The meaning behind the hairstyles. Many fans wondered if Millie Bobby Brown shaved her head again for Season 4.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Because that buzz cut looked insanely realistic, right? But this time, it was a wig. The process of setting it took about 30 minutes from start to finish. The hair and makeup team wrapped Millie's real hair tight around her head. Then they wet it and used an elastic material to really flatten it. After letting it dry for 15 minutes, they put the wig on. Another character who stayed true to his original hairstyle is Will. Noah Schnapp revealed that he asked the Duffer Brothers many times to change his bowl cut. However, the show's creators insisted on keeping it, so the actor had to put up with it. "I think it is a true kind of 80s classic haircut," shared Noah, "so I don't think we're gonna lose it anytime soon." Also, it's probably meant to show that Will is still very tied to childhood and wants things to remain the same. On the other hand, his friend Lucas's new flat-top haircut signifies his transition into a popular jock. This style was inspired by the hip-hop duo Kid 'n Play, and Mike is trying to grow his hair out like his new role model, Eddie. Speaking of Eddie, originally the Duffers wanted his hair to be similar to David Bowie's mane in Labyrinth, the iconic movie from the 80s. But the actor Joe Quinn wanted to sport something more normal, like a mullet. They finally compromised after 2 whole weeks of wig fittings. The hair team based the final look on Ozzy Osbourne and other metal gods from the 80s. Quinn revealed that his hairstyle, although still being objectively ridiculous, serves the character really well. It's very useful as an actor to put something on and instantly you feel like you're looking at a different person. Now let's see what else Joe and his castmates had to go through to really immerse themselves into their characters. Becoming a metalhead. His spectacular 80s heavy metal perm and denim battle jacket made Eddie look like the real deal. Joe Quinn confirmed he listened to a lot of heavy metal while preparing for the role. The actor has played guitar since he was 7, and it really helped him get into the mindset of an over-the-top metal weirdo. Joe got the script for Stranger Things at some point in the pandemic, so he started practicing pretty furiously. "It's impossible to not sound pretentious when you say it," he confessed. "But yeah, that was my way in." His co-star Brett Gelman also chose to acquire the same skills as his character, our favorite conspiracy theorist. Murray spends the first part of Season 4 talking about his karate abilities. Thankfully, it turns out that he can actually fight. Gelman took it very seriously and wanted to look as authentic as possible, so he spent 3 months training with karate instructors. The actor called the experience of training healing, since he wasn't particularly athletic as a child. "Feeling that I can pick karate and Russian up so quickly at 45 feels like, oh wow, I am in my prime," explained Gelman. Kayla McLaughlin also had to learn something new.
Lucas finally gets a chance to get on the court.
But playing basketball in the 80s was a bit different than playing it today. There were no fancy handles behind the back, no-look passes, revealed Caleb. It was definitely a totally different style to play. By the way, his jersey number 8 carries special significance. It's an homage to the late Kobe Bryant. Newcomer Eduardo Franco didn't have to learn anything new. However, he still had his fair share of challenges. Because of Argyle's specific interests, Eduardo had to wear bloodshot contacts throughout the season. Those paired with his Quicksilver outfits really helped him create a great character. Next, let's talk about fashion. Traveling far to get things right. In case you didn't know, scrunchies were an 80s fashion staple. All of them were custom-made specifically for the show. And the Stranger Things costume designers made sure they would match any given character's outfit flawlessly. For example, Max's hair accessory was dyed a darker color this season. It was supposed to show she's been wearing the same one for over a year, so it looks a little dirtier and sadder. We've already mentioned Quicksilver, who helped create those California-inspired looks, but Converse was also part of the costume making. They designed exclusive shoes in 3 different colors to match the palette of Hawkins High. In contrast, Argyle's shoes were custom made by Vans. But the hardest costumes to make were those of the Russian military. The show's team hired a military advisor to make sure the uniforms were historically accurate. They even went to Poland to pick the pieces of those monochromatic blues and greens. Incredibly, that wasn't the only overseas location the Stranger Things cast and crew traveled to this season. To bring Russia to the screen, they went to Lithuania. The majority of the Russian storyline was shot at an old Tsarist prison. It served perfectly in creating a very dark Kamchatkan vibe. Another place with a pretty dark backstory was the sanitarium where Victor Creel was housed. Turns out Penhurst Mental Hospital does exist in real life. Once seen as a model institution, it was closed in the 80s after years of controversies. However, in the series, the scenes set at the hospital were filmed at Berry College in Georgia, and the real-life Creel house is only a few miles from it. It was built in the second part of the 19th century and was previously a bed and breakfast. The homeowners moved from Minnesota with the intention of renovating it. About a month after they closed on the house and began renovations, the locations team for Stranger Things knocked on their door. We'll get back to the intriguing behind-the-scenes details of filming Season 4 a little bit later, and right now you can check this out. Visit our awesome merch shop. We have branded t-shirts, hoodies, eco bags, and even phone cases. You can choose between dozens of unique and awesome designs. Click the link under the video and find your perfect match. Now, let's move on to some filming secrets. A surprisingly tough scene. Many Stranger Things fans agree that Dear Billy is the best episode of the new bunch, and viewers were definitely surprised to see Dacre Montgomery again. He came back for a scene where the monstrous Vecna taunts Max as Billy. In this emotionally intense sequence, the grieving Max quite literally comes face to face with her trauma. But Montgomery and Sadie Sink didn't film it together. In fact, they shot the scene on 2 different continents, nearly a year apart. Director Sean Levy called this task the biggest Rubik's Cube challenge of his directing career. The pandemic scuttled all of the production plans when the shooting had already begun. Dacre was in his hometown in Australia and couldn't come to the set. Ultimately, Levy decided to direct Montgomery remotely over Zoom. This was a year after Sink shot her portion of the scene. So Montgomery's performance was digitally merged with hers using a bit of movie magic. And there was another character whose appearance on the show definitely required some special effects. A villain unlike any before it. Just as promised, Season 4 is the scariest Stranger Things season so far. However, unlike Demogorgon and the Mind Flayer, Vecna was created without the use of heavy CGI.
It's about 10% CGI, 90% practical effects.
The team decided to stick to old-school prosthetics. Moreover, rather than just creating a rubber monster suit for the actor to slip into, the visual effects artists glued each piece of the prosthetic to Bower's skin. From start to finish, it took roughly 7.5 hours. The character had to be camera-ready early in the morning, so the application process usually began around 3 a.m. After about 10 to 12 hours of filming, Jamie Campbell Bower headed back to the chair to get it all removed, which would take another hour. For the finishing touch, Vecna was covered with a layer of lube to create a glossy, wet look. The only thing that wasn't practical was the moving vines on the neck. This supervillain is terrifying not only because of how he looks, but because of his dark aura. Bower shared the method he used to fully get into character. He wouldn't speak to people outside of the production for at least 4 days prior to shooting his scenes. And right before filming, he would also sit alone in a totally pitch-black room to get into Vecna's evil headspace. Incredibly, about halfway through filming, Bower himself started to become quite afraid of the monster. Rumor has it that he even made Millie Bobby Brown cry.
That could be true.
And finally, we're gonna reveal the secret behind the portrayal of the younger Eleven in Season 4. The Doppelgänger. Some fans were unhappy with the poor quality of special effects used to create a version of Elle from the flashbacks. One even tweeted that younger Eleven is scarier than the actual monsters. Others assumed that the show's creators used the same digital de-aging technique that made Robert De Niro look younger in The Irishman. And some even suggested that Millie Bobby Brown filmed the scenes years ago. But they were all wrong. Flashback 11 is neither CGI nor Millie. She's just the result of really good casting, acting, and directing. The Stranger Things writers revealed that young Eleven is played by a wonderfully talented actor, Marty Blair. With Brown's help, she transformed into her mini-me. Millie directed her every step of the way. Marty confirmed that Brown supported her between takes and helped her go through the intense shooting process. Of course, Blair had to go through a similar experience as Millie did in the first season of the show, including shaving off all her hair. Blair shared that it changed the way she viewed the world, herself, and how others viewed her. Still, she is grateful for this experience that let her follow her dream. Thankfully, the young actress didn't have to go through it alone. She was accompanied by her fellow lab rats, and they had a great time, both on and off screen. If you like this video, support OSSA by sending us super thanks. Just click on the thanks button under the video and choose an amount to donate. Stay awesome, and remember, we value each one of you. Don't forget to check out our other videos about Stranger Things and its cast. Thanks for watching.